This video is part of a course entitled The Successful Scholar, which can be found on udemy.com, teachable.com, or thinkific.com. There's a book available as a resource in both paperback and Kindle formats on Amazon. Thank you for watching, and I hope you'll check out the full course. All right, so let's move forward, right? We've created our values, we've got our long-term goals, we've got our short-term goals. Now what? Well, let's look into more of that action plan. Let's transfer all of these goals and values into an actionable item. So at least once a week, you need to hold a personal planning session with yourself. For myself, I do that on Sunday. I believe, and for my own self, that Sunday is the beginning of my week. I look at each of my goals. What action items may be associated with these goals? What is the one thing you can do to accomplish your goal? And as you focus on these items, you'll notice that your goals become achievable. Stephen Covey, in 1989, he offered a method to prioritize your activities and your tasks by ranking them with the value. It's called the Covey Quadrant method. Right here, we're looking at quadrant 1. This quadrant is both important and urgent. You will see in the top left-hand area, what does it say? Important on one and urgent going down. These items are necessary. You're going to find that your classes and many meetings actually fall into this category. Let's look at quadrant 2. Quadrant 2 is generally where we end up spending quite a bit of our time, right? So it's going to be the most effective, proactive space to be. You want to be in this space. This is where preparation and empowerment come together. This is where we focus on tasks that are related to our goals and our values. Now let's compare this to quadrant 3. Quadrant 3 is where the least amount of time should be spent. This is firefighting mode, right? You know what it is, where all you do is run around and you don't have any real direction because you're too busy trying to get things done you didn't prepare for. You've been there. I like this because sometimes we think of it as our own lack of preparation, and sometimes it is a lack of preparation by someone else. Quadrant 4 can serve a purpose at times, but usually is nothing more than a waste of time. It is generally due to a lack of planning. So let's look at what the quadrant looks like for a college student. During your weekly planning time, this is where you will notice the need to differentiate between your time wasters and those things which will aid you in achieving your goals. That quadrant 1 is the manage quadrant. Classes fall into this situation. You cannot plan them, but they're important. They've already been planned for you, right? They are an essential component to ensure that you don't allow others to place items into your manage quadrant. This means don't allow someone else to take over that time space so when you then can't attend those classes. Quadrant 2, the achiever quadrant. You want to spend most of your time in this quadrant. You will have tasks which propel your personal growth, your goals, your achievement. Remember, these are related to your values, your visions, and the things that matter most. Quadrant 3, fire. Stay away from it. Stay away from this quadrant. This is the quadrant where tasks go because they were not properly planned. This is usually where items fall because they were imposed upon you by others or your lack of preparation. For instance, your roommate locks himself out of your room and needs you to bring keys to him. Some fires simply cannot be helped, but others need careful thought. I like the phrase, your lack of preparation may not constitute an emergency for me. This may sound heartless, but you will find that those who do not prepare will consistently attempt to encroach on your plans if you do not use appropriate boundaries. Quadrant 4, wasters. Find out what is the biggest waster in your life. Recently, I looked at how I spent my time. I noticed I'd gotten into a silly habit of using game apps on my phone. It started out simply enough, just looking for something to do while standing in line or waiting in the car, but it ballooned to the point that I was obsessed in beating the game. A few days ago, I taught the concept of Covey's Quadrants to my class of high school seniors. I posed a question. I took my son to the movies. His choice of movie, I hated the movie, I'm adding. In which quadrant would you put this activity? With little variation, the majority called the activity a waster, quadrant 4. I put the activity in achiever, quadrant 2. Why? Because parenting and family is a very high value for me. Spending time with my son, even in a movie that I hated, I will say though, he loved it. This made this an achieving activity for me. I built my relationship with my adult son and spent time with him, doing something he enjoyed. I learned quite a few things about him that I didn't know prior to this date. Take a few moments to think about the activities in your life. In which quadrant do they fall? Ponder on these words of Stephen Covey. The key is not to prioritize what is on your schedule, but to schedule your priorities.